Binge or Purge? Binge or Purge? Binge or Purge?
Hello and welcome to Binge or Purge streaming reviews. I am your host, Dimo. My co-host is Joe Taylor. This is episode 64.
Welcome back, Dimo. Good to see you.
Seeing you, Joe. Yes.
As always.
Let's talk over each other at the beginning. Let's just really
Sure.
not be able to understand what anyone's saying.
Did you watch the Emmys? just keep. No, nobody cares. Keep
No one cares. No one cares. Keep going. We're going to keep going, folks. Yes, we watched the Emmys. Did you watch the Emmys?
Yeah, I watched them the next day. I got to say real quick, because I know we're going to get into the actual meat of it, but the Jason Bateman bit at the beginning cracked me up so much.
Where he was pretending to be a cutout?
He was pretending to be a cardboard cutout, and Kimmel was like, you can't be in here. We have a number. Anyway, just watch it. If you haven't already, you can find it on YouTube, but that cracked me up. Kimmel is so good at bits.
Yeah. I thought the best bit, though, was the fire. And the fact that, like, no matter how many times Jennifer Aniston used the fire extinguisher, that envelope that they had lit on fire would not go out.
I don't know if that was a bit.
That's what I mean. That's what made it great. I mean, you could see the surprised look on her face. She's like, is this what? You know what I mean? It's like, hit it again, because they had started a fire.
Well, someone off stage yelled into the picture, which is never a good sign.
Oh, I missed that. You know, they did the best they could with the situation. It wasn't too bad. I mean, I kind of like seeing the performers, the actors in their houses with
that was kind of cool,
family.
actually.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, these are the people that really matter to them. You know, you actually see who they're talking about or thanking.
Yeah,
You know?
that was pretty cool.
Like I said, considering you really couldn't get anybody together, I guess this is what these award shows are now. But I can't imagine the Oscars being like this. I would not want to win an Oscar the year I gotta phone it in from home. I'm just saying.
Well, have I got good news for you?
Yeah.
not a problem,
happening.
my friend.
Not happening. I know. Okay, so we're not going to get into it too much. Let's talk about the winners quickly. The big thing was going in, Netflix had all these nominations, right? Like 160, and then HBO was second. But when all was said and done, and it came down to who won the most, HBO was the leader with 30 wins, and Netflix got 21. And in the actual broadcast ceremony, because there's the creative arts portion for the previous week, that's where you can really rally up a lot of wins. But by the time they got to the broadcast that everybody watches, Netflix only won 2 Emmys. And then HBO pulled ahead because they had Watchmen and Succession, which dominated. I mean, it comes down to Watchmen, Succession, and of course, Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Hats off to Schitt's Creek for one reason and one reason only. They knew to like rent out a banquet hall or something.
Well,
right?
they're in Canada.
Yeah, that does help them. But I mean, like they were able to like, put on like they had a party going on there. They weren't like, in someone's living room. They almost like they're ready. They knew they were going to win. I don't think they knew they were going to win that much. I mean, that was a record for a comedy.
Didn't they win 7 out of the first 7 Emmys or something?
It was a complete sweep.
Yeah.
Complete sweep.
Now, are you into that show or not really gotten into it? Or
I have watched the first episode and I never got into it. Don't come at me saying like, oh yeah, I know, I'm going to watch it at some point. I was just with someone that wasn't really into it, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll come back to it. I never got back to it.
I'm on the same page, which is I know that it's funny. Everyone else has told me about it. It's one of my sister's favorite shows. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, I've watched 1 or 2 of them. The premise is a little confusing, but I guess that doesn't really matter these days.
No.
It's fine.
As long as it's funny.
I'm sure it's fine.
It's something I will watch eventually. But I got to watch all this other stuff for this show. It's hard to go back and watch something everyone's already seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, was there anything that won that you were like, what is that show?
Unorthodox.
Yeah.
That won for best directing of a dramatic episode. Now, it's on Netflix. I have never seen it. It looks interesting. I think it's a foreign production, actually. I don't think it was made in America.
It's like Irish or something, I think.
It's Israeli.
Wrong. It's a German-American production that is primarily spoken in Yiddish.
My big thing is the fact that Maya Rudolph at the Creative Arts Emmys won for Big Mouth. My favorite vocal performance.
Really?
Connie, the hormone monster. I said I wanted her to win. She did. It was one of my favorite performances of the last 2 years. So congratulations to her. I also want to say we were pretty good on the predictions. I said Succession would win Best Drama. It did. And we figured Schitt's Creek would probably do pretty well in the comedies. Obviously not to this level. And I also said that Watchmen would be really strong. I said it would sweep. It didn't completely sweep, but it did really great. So I think we are on the pulse there. I also want to mention the show that you really like, The Morning Show, won 1 Emmy for Billy Crudup.
If you had to rank every person in that show, he would have been towards the bottom of my list, but that's who won. So
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know. And of course, Zendaya won for Euphoria, my favorite show.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm standing my ground and saying how much I still hate that show. All right? I hate Euphoria. I will always hate Euphoria. Congratulations to Zendaya and all that, whatever, but I still hate that show.
The show's garbage. I'm with you. Here's who I was really glad who won was Mark Ruffalo,
Yes.
who seems like the nicest person on the planet.
Right.
I don't know if he is or not. I've never
I hear
heard.
he's a good guy.
If-
But did you see his performance? I watched
Yeah.
the first, I didn't watch the
He
whole,
plays two characters.
and it is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he absolutely positively deserved to win. And it's not like, always playing two characters and they do like a split screen. I mean, the way it's shot, the way he plays off himself, I don't know how they do it. It is seamless. I mean, it's like long takes, where they're both in the scene together and the camera moves around them. It's a technical achievement and an incredible performance all in one.
I've heard him talk before. He just sounds like the nicest guy on the planet. And you know that thing, Cameo, where you can pay to have someone call you or FaceTime you or whatever?
Wish you a happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Mark Ruffalo had a thing where he was like, hey, for $1,000, I'll say something nice to you, and I only had $995, I'd be like, Dimo, can I borrow $5? This is really important to me.
You know what? Mark Ruffalo would let you pay it for $995, though.
That's the thing about
He'd
Mark
be like,
Ruffalo.
don't worry about the $5. I got it.
Yeah. So I was happy to see that. Schitt's Creek, I guess that's cool.
Mandalorian got
Yeah.
a lot of technical awards. It won 7. Nothing in the, the broadcast portion, but the creative arts, it did really well on all the technical things, which obviously it should, I mean, it's like a Star Wars movie for TV, right?
I think we mentioned this before.
We
but
have mentioned how they put it together, and it's
yeah,
amazing.
the making of series is almost better than the show itself.
I agree. So anyway, I'm done. I don't
Okay.
want to talk about this anymore,
All
right?
right. Well, we were pretty much on the nose, as usual.
Yep, not bad. So 2020 Emmys in the bag. Let's review something, Joe.
Okay. There's a show relatively new on Netflix. It's 10 episodes. They're close to an hour long each. Mm-hmm. It's called Away.
Yes.
Stars Hilary Swank, a very talented actress, and Josh Charles, one of my favorite actors. You might remember him from Dead Poets Society.
I know who he is.
Also, I know, but I'm telling the audience.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And The Good Wife. Fantastic cast. Looks amazing. Now, this is about Hilary Swank. She's the wife. She goes up into space. Josh Charles is having some health issues and stuff at the same time. They have a daughter. It's very emotional and very complex.
They're on their way to Mars. They're going to be the first humans
Yes.
to land on Mars.
Yes, thank
and
you.
it's an international group. You got a Russian, a Chinese woman, an African gentleman.
Yeah,
And then-
you've
and
got
then-
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, right.
It's an international thing. There's so much going on in this. It is a lot of there's a lot of plot points and stuff, but it's 10 hours almost.
Yeah, I know.
How do I put this?
I'll do it for you.
Okay.
I got through 3 and bailed.
Okay.
Okay, because I was like, I don't care. I don't care, Joe, if
Yeah.
they ever get to Mars, because I looked like you did. I'm like, 10 episodes? I thought the first episode was powerful. Ed Zwick directed it. He's also an executive producer. He made Glory. Fantastic director. I thought there was some good emotion in that first episode, but man, it couldn't hold me, and I bailed. And I'll tell you one other thing that drove me nuts.
What?
The phone calls from space.
How do you mean?
They're getting a call from deep space. Okay, she goes, I got to call my husband, see how he's doing, right? In the hospital. They do a FaceTime. It's like she's in the other room. I'm like, wow, this hospital has great internet, right? The girls at home, oh, my mom's calling. Should I pick up or not? I don't know. Yeah, you should pick up. She's calling from deep space. I'm sorry. It sort of seemed like, I know they got to keep, the characters communicating with each other, and that's how you got to do it when they're on Earth and they're in space. How else are you going to do it? But oh my God.
Meanwhile, when we have a phone call, it's like a 1.5 second delay when you're in the next room when we're testing it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Fine. That's a weird thing to fixate on. But
I know, but I kept thinking about it the whole time I'm watching it, right? I'm like, oh, they got to get a call again from space. They're talking to everybody, talking to mission control, and they got it on their iPad and their cell phone and their watch.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Well, that wasn't the thing that bothered me.
Okay. I know. This is all I got.
It was just too long. It didn't need to be 10 hours. It could have been a 2-hour movie, and it probably would have been fantastic. 10 hours is too much of almost anything, but this was a nice story, but it should have been way shorter.
Mm-hmm. And you finished it.
Yeah, I did. I may have fallen asleep during like episode 6 or 7 for a little while, but I did finish it. I don't know. It's probably coming back, but it had to have cost $1 billion to make.
Oh, they spared no expense on the look. I mean, it is well made. It looks like a feature.
That's the thing I wrote down to bring up, which is how in the world do these companies like Apple and Netflix make basically 10-hour movies every 3 months?
That's what I want to know.
If you made Terminator today, it would have taken 1.5 years. And it's like, well, now you're making TV shows. You're cranking out an hour of feature-looking television every week.
That's a great question, Joe, because I don't know how these shows do it. They must be throwing crazy amounts of money that we don't know about. Or have they figured out some production thing where they can do it cheap? Who knows?
They're not doing it cheap because I've been on a Netflix set before and there's 200 people working on it. They just have so much money, I guess. But it's the post-production that really loses me because it's like, how do you edit? You're doing an hour a week, basically. You're basically making half a movie every week. In the DGA guidelines are that a director can be on board in post-production for 10 weeks before they have to get overtime pay. So you go 10 weeks for 2 hours, but 1 week for 1 hour? It doesn't compute. I don't know.
The thing is, there's not really one director on most of these shows. They have multiple directors. So that's how they get out of that. I don't know.
I guess, but even even the Mandalorian and stuff, like that looks more like a movie than anything.
Right. But they showed us how they do that. That's what I'm saying. They're able to take this technology and crank out these shows in a way they couldn't before at a lesser budget. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't work in Hollywood anymore.
Yeah, well, nobody does. But here's the thing. Everyone's going to Texas and Nashville and stuff. But here's the thing. It's 10 episodes. They average about 50 minutes.
Right.
It's cool, but I don't know. There's just not enough.
Let me ask you this without giving anything away. Were you satisfied with the ending?
No.
Okay, I'm out.
Yeah. It just wasn't worth it. I love Josh Charles. He might be one of my favorite actors of all time. Because I loved Dead Poet Society so much.
I love Dead Poet Society. Fantastic movie.
Yeah. Damn it, Neil. It's no Wanda. One of the best lines in any movie ever. People have to Google that and know what I'm even talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen that movie more times than I've eaten breakfast.
Yeah.
Love it.
So he's great. Hilary Swank is great. The whole cast is great. Vivian Wu is secretly very hot.
Okay.
The old Russian guy was good.
He was hot too.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not secretly hot. Anyway, of course it's really well done and it looks great and is fun, but there just wasn't enough beats in it.
All right.
As a writer, do you know what I mean? There wasn't enough beats.
Yeah.
It's like one thing happened every 40 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm very sorry, Hilary Swank and Josh Charles and everyone else, but it's a light purge for me. Hopefully we just saved some people some time, but other people might like it. I don't know.
I will say this. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm starting to watch Away. It's really good. And then they're like, I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, I looked down there. I was like, 10 hours of this?
Yeah. Would have been a nice movie, but.
All right. Let's move on, Joe. Come on.
Okay.
There was a lot about Away.
Okay. So there's something a lot of people are talking about. I've gotten more texts about this next thing than maybe anything, but go ahead.
Yeah. It's the documentary of the moment. It's like a docudrama which I have an issue with.
It's a giant hybrid of. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, say what it is.
There's narrative scenes.
Right.
There's recreations.
Yep. And then there's a bunch of talking heads. Anyway, it's the social dilemma. The big warning that we're doomed by social media, how it's basically constructed to destroy us.
I believe the premise.
I didn't care for the recreations, like the actors acting out like, oh, I'm obsessed with my phone. I'm like, I know what it's like to be obsessed with my phone. I don't need to see it, okay? I live it. Ask my girlfriend. If there's one thing she wants to change about me, it's the fact that I'm always on my phone, on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and sometimes I think she's just going to call it quits because she's so sick of me being on the phone. I mean, I have got a problem. I'm the first to admit it. So I watch this thing and I'm like, yeah, I know. And I know you guys are doing everything you can to control us and turn us into algorithms and products. Wasn't that the whole point? Like, we are the product?
Yes, you're not the customer, you're the product. Yeah.
Right. But what this thing was great for was the interviews with the talking heads, the tech people that created all this stuff. Like, I made the like button, right? Or I worked at Google and I created everything that you think is fun. And we weren't trying to destroy your world. We thought this was cool stuff. But they admit the agenda has been to really control you in a way. No? I know you have a lot. I do want to say one thing before you get started. One last thing. I know. This is the first documentary on Netflix to also be the most popular movie for an entire month. Does that make sense?
Really?
You know how like they got their statistics and everything, and it's like, this is the most popular thing. The most popular movie for the month of September is The Social Dilemma, and it's a documentary. First time a documentary has done that. I read that 3 hours ago. That's my little nugget. Okay?
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yep.
I have heard from several friends and family members that this is a good documentary. I watched it about a week ago. The one-word review, I don't even know. I've got 5 pages of notes here.
I know. I see.
The one word I would use to describe this documentary is disingenuous. Because not only are there cutaways to narrative scenes starring actors that you would recognize, including the guy from Mad Men who plays 3 different characters who are all, I guess, triplets or something.
Vincent Kartheiser.
This thing is so phony. I hate it. I want to know who paid for it, and I want to punch him in the face because this thing is so stupid. It's like, no crap, they collect your data. We all know that. And by the way, if you're collecting all this data about people who spend 10 hours a day on Instagram, to what end? They're not working, obviously. You're collecting children's data or whatever. They're not spending money.
Advertising. That's all it is. They just want you for advertising.
Okay, but why are you advertising to people who spend 10 hours a day on Instagram? They don't have any discretional income, probably.
I don't know, man. They're advertising to everybody. They want everyone's information. That's the whole thing. Information is the thing. Look, I sort of agree with you. I didn't really learn anything new in this.
Yes.
You go online, obviously, the thing they're talking about. You go on social media and they're talking about social media. But it's like, yep, I turned off my notifications on my phone. And I'm like, duh, right? Turn off your location. All that stuff. Like, there's all these little things. I know it doesn't really matter, but I didn't learn anything like, wow, I need to get off this thing. I've known I need to get off this thing for years. I know it's bad for me. This didn't have any magic bullet.
I had a visceral reaction to this documentary because every talking head seemed like someone acting and not like an actual interview. The guy with the dreadlocks, I swear to God, someone was standing behind him with their arms through his arms doing like Muppet arm. I was like, that can't really be his arm. It's not even his real arms. And then the redheaded guy is like clearly a robot controlled by Peter Thiel or something. But I just I didn't buy any of it. It all seemed so fake. And it's like, hey, what if you had $20 billion and you paid for a documentary to be made? And it's like, what do you do? You're farting in a coffee can and smelling it and be like, that's not good. It's gross. Like, thank you for telling me that. Like, I don't need it. I don't need this documentary.
Yeah, I didn't learn anything new. Like I said, there's going to be some magic bullet to tell me, ooh, wow, look at that, the smoking gun, right? To tell me like, wow, this is the one thing you got to do, or throw your phone in the river. And I was like, I know all this stuff already. Get rid of the recreations and make this in a half an hour.
Yeah, there's a lot wrong with the filmmaking of this documentary because it switches gears every 6 minutes from recreation to talking head to the thing with the guy from Mad Men. And it's like, what are you doing? Obviously, nobody involved with this thing has ever worked in film before because they didn't pick a lane.
Send him an article on sports. He looks disinterested. Remember, I got to push these buttons. We got to keep him engaged or whatever. And also, okay, no phone for a week. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. I would have been like, no phone for a week? Take away my sugar. Look, I just want to say one thing about this. This is my overall view of social media and everything. Back in the day when you wanted to get people to build the pyramids and do shit you wanted, you used whips and chains to control people, right? How are we going to get these people to do what we want, keep under control? Beat them, right? And it's like, okay, now you don't do that anymore. You don't beat anybody. You give them candy. You get them hooked on fun stuff. You give them things that they like. I have a game. I play this pool game, billiards.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't go on it every day to get the little incentives, I am like Pavlov's dog now for this game where I have to check in every day and make sure I get my new coins, right? Ooh, check in every 24 hours. You get your coin update. What is that? And I'm always like, oh, once I get to 2 million coins, then I'm going to be somewhere. Well, guess what? I got to 2 million coins a year ago, and I'm still playing this stupid thing. But I do it every freaking day, Joe. I play that damn game. And guess what? You know what I'm going to do tonight when I go home before I go to bed? I'm going to play the damn game again.
You're going to play the pool game. Yeah.
Right. And not the pocket pool game like you're thinking. I'll play that after. I'm just saying, if you want to control the people, you give them stuff that they like. Okay? And that's it. Ooh, my phone, it's so cool, right? I love it. I can communicate with everyone. It's fun. That's how you control people. You don't beat them anymore. You give them candy.
You're just saying the point of the documentary, which is kind of interesting, but it was so poorly made. I thought this thing was one of the worst documentaries I've ever seen. Doesn't mean they didn't get it right. The premise was right. The information was mildly interesting. The guy with the dreadlocks and the Muppet hands seems like he can't possibly be an actual person. Half of the talking heads they had seemed like they were actors. So I just thought this whole thing was so fake. I hated it. What about you?
I have to say it's a purge because I didn't truly learn anything new. Tell me something I don't know, and I didn't get that.
Yep. But, I mean, I guess if you don't, think about anything ever, you might not have considered some of this information, but
I'm getting bored.
Skip it.
Purge. It's a purge. Question for you, Joe. Mm-hmm. Who played the teenager in The Social Dilemma? Do you know who it is?
I recognize him. I don't remember his name.
Right. His name is Skylar Gisando, I think. Right?
Is he in some anti-bullying commercial or something?
He's in a lot of stuff. He was on the Righteous Gemstones. He was in the Santa Clarita Diet. You recognize him. You go, oh, that kid, right? He sort of looks kind of oldish in a weird way. Like
he has a look.
He has a look. He has a very distinct look. Now, I only mention it because guess what? He's also in my next thing. So if you want to do a Skylar Gisando double feature, this is it. You can do The Social Dilemma and, wait for it, The Binge.
Like Binge or Purge.
Like Binge or Purge. Mm-hmm. This is The Binge. It's a Hulu original movie. It's 1 hour and 38 minutes. It stars Skylar Gisando, Eduardo Franco, Dexter Darden, and, for your viewing pleasure, Vince Vaughn.
Really?
Yes.
See, I have no idea what this is.
I know you have no clue. No one's heard of this. I came across it on Hulu, and I was like, The Binge? And I was like, I got to watch this just because, it's called The Binge. Yeah. So it's a play on, guess what? The Purge.
Oh.
Right?
What is it, comedy?
It's a teenage high school comedy. But The Purge is about, once a year we shut down the world and everybody can go on a crime spree. The Binge is once a year, and I got to say ahead of time, drugs and alcohol have been outlawed. So no one can drink, no one can do any drugs, except one day a year you're allowed to binge.
Okay.
So everybody in the world, or at least the United States, gets one night where they can go crazy and just be debaucherous fools. So it's sort of the opposite of The Purge. Get it? Clever, right?
Yeah, very clever.
That's the end of the cleverness.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I want to say on Rotten Tomatoes, the scores little seesaw, if you will. Critics, 21%.
Not good.
Audience, 84. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'll give it like a 50 maybe in there somewhere. It's not awful. Vince Vaughn is kind of funny. And you watch enough Vince Vaughn and I go, when they write something, do they write for Vince Vaughn?
They have to.
Or does he get the material and go, I'm going to rewrite it my way and I'm going to put in my stuff? Because no matter what he does, it's like the lines are written specifically for him. Like they're organically Vince Vaughn delivered. I know that sounds weird. Obviously, they're coming out of his mouth. But I mean, it's like when you're typing this up, you have to type it knowing Vince Vaughn is going to be saying it. You can't type up his stuff and go, gee, I hope we get Vince Vaughn. Because if we don't, these lines are going to be shit. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, yes. And I agree with you. You couldn't substitute John Malkovich for Vince Vaughn and have the same movie.
Right. It's just not going to work. So he's got some funny stuff. I have to say, the first 15, 20 minutes, I was like, the premise was kind of engaging. And I thought it was, okay, this could be funny. And I was a couple parts where I laughed and I was like, all right, I'm on board. And then by the end, I was like falling asleep and I wanted it over. And it was just your typical crazy night with the kids, right? We're going to get nuts and don't tell the principal. Vince Vaughn plays a dad and a principal. He covers both bases. And like, you're not going to touch my daughter.
Yeah, there's 3 bases, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, I mean, you get it. There's nothing really new here other than like they took the Purge and said, let's call it the Binge, right?
Yeah, this just sounds like a gimmick. I mean,
it kind of
is. I can't even. You've described it for 4 minutes. I don't have any idea what this is, so I'm
not being
out.
clear. It's a teenage comedy where the kids are going to go out and party, right? Because they can.
Great. It doesn't sound interesting.
In its defense, it was shot in Syracuse, New York.
Okay.
I know that's exciting for no one but me, but it was shot in, upstate New York. And I sort of recognize the feel of it. I go, this feels sort of like what I know.
Okay.
That's it.
What do you think about it?
The Binge. It's a purge. Are you happy?
I so knew that was coming.
Of course. The only reason I reviewed it so I could say this.
I know. Okay.
Right?
I'm going to hit the button.
Okay.
There we go. Very good, sir.
Yeah, great.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay. The last thing, thankfully.
Yeah.
Ryan Murphy.
Prolific, man. Every 5 minutes, he's got something, right?
Biggest overall deal that Netflix has ever done.
Yeah.
His deal is worth $300 million.
He's got a new show called Ratched. It's about Nurse Ratched, who's a character from...
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
And won the Best Supporting Actress Oscar by Louise Fletcher. It's a legendary performance.
Yeah. She's a nurse at a mental hospital, and this is where this show takes place.
It's a prequel, yes? Is it?
Yes, it is a prequel, exactly.
Okay.
This is 8 episodes. They're about an hour long each. It's on Netflix. Again, it's called Ratched. It's Ryan Murphy's, 3rd or 4th Netflix original series?
Like I said, he's cranking them out, man.
This is his 4th project on Netflix so far.
Here's the thing about Ryan Murphy. This show is very Ryan Murphy-ish. Okay, other things he's done, just in case you don't know, not you, but Glee, of course, was his big first thing.
Nip Tuck.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Nip Tuck, The People versus O.J. Simpson,
American Horror Story.
He did 6 different seasons of American Horror Story, Hollywood, and of course The Politician, which we've raved about, and a couple other things too. But he's got this Wes Anderson vibe where it's like, you're watching a Ryan Murphy thing, even if no one tells you.
Yep.
Very colorful, a lot of pastels, a lot of inclusion type of stuff. So that's normally his theme. Ratched, I don't know what the point of it was. Did you watch it? Any of it?
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't know what the point was of the show.
I think Sarah Paulson's a great actress.
She's one of the most entertaining actors on the planet.
Yeah,
for sure.
she's fantastic.
As Marsha Clark, oh my God.
Fantastic as Marsha Clark. But I watched the trailer and I was like, I'm out. I'd rather go watch One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, honestly.
Which Netflix has now and is promoting.
Yes, of course.
Sarah Paulson's fantastic. I mean, everyone in it is good. It's got the guy, Finn Whitrock, who plays the serial killer. It's got Sharon Stone in it a little
I saw
bit.
that, yes.
It's got a bunch of fresh faces, which he actually is like kind of known for, is bringing in all these new people you've never seen.
Which I like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And my number one thing that I liked about the show was that it's shot up in a lot of it up in Big Sur and Monterey and Lucia and stuff, which is, as I've told you, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my life. So it's a great looking show, of course. Well done. I have no idea why it got made or for what purpose, what the message was, what the theme was. I don't get it. It was 8 hours of decent television, I guess. But
Let me ask you this, because I'm not going to watch it and don't really give away. Does it sort of play itself into One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
no.
Okay.
And it's already been renewed for season 2, though. So
Okay.
maybe
All right.
it will. But
I gotcha.
does this guy like have blackmail on Ted Sarandos or something? Like why? I mean, he got paid millions of dollars for this show.
Well, maybe he's like, I got paid millions of dollars. I got to make stuff, right?
Yeah.
Keep them coming.
Out of all of his shows, this is the one that feels like he had a deadline and had to make something. He's like,
Okay.
Nurse Ratched from, let's make a show about her. And it's like, yeah, but you don't really want to make it, but you're just making it because you have to. I would say this. Now, here's a show we never talked about, or we talked about talking about it, but we didn't. Hollywood,
Yes.
his last show, other than season 2 of Politician, Hollywood's way better than this.
I watched half of Hollywood. I watched it and I got up to Jess the Fax's performance.
Oh, did you now? Wow. Thanks, guys, for interviewing me about it. Big fat losers. I mean, it's not that you care to know, clearly, but yeah, I did have a blast shooting it. I mean, it was a co-star with Dylan McDermott. I mean, come on, he's a huge hunk. Honestly, though, it was super fun. I got to be on set for a few days, once in December, and then again in January after the break. It was very dreamy. They ended up cutting a lot of my scenes out, turned it into like a montage bit, but I still had a big chunk of screen time, so I'm very grateful for that. And I'd do it all over again.
Yeah, good job, Jess, right?
Yeah, she was good, and the show was good. It was better than Ratched, and it had a message, it had a point. You know, Ratched, I don't know what they're trying to say. And I took this writing class. This is the last thing I'll say about it. A long time ago, I took this writing class, and the guy was like, hey, I worked on a sitcom, and we had 1 million viewers, which is not, I mean, they got canceled, obviously, because that's not very much. But he's like, that's still a lot of people. He's like, you got to think about what you're saying to that many people, because you should have a point. And I've never forgotten that. And this show, it was just like, why?
There you go. Why?
So, sorry, Ryan Murphy. I like everything he's done except for this. I think this is the one. Watch every other Ryan Murphy series except for this, because it was just like, eh.
Most of the time, you're going to get something good from him.
I don't know, man. I got to give this one a purge.
All right.
Okay.
Anybody still listening?
I doubt it. Let me recap.
I think we lost him.
Let me recap.
Okay.
Away on Netflix. Hilary Swank, Josh Charles. Well done. Not super interesting. And way too long. Purge. Social Dilemma. We said light purge.
We didn't learn anything. And the dramatizations were pointless.
The ham-handedness of the filmmaking was disgusting. And the guy with the fake Muppet arms and the dreadlocks actually gave me nightmares. The Binge on Hulu, Dimo said that was a purge, of course, because he just couldn't wait to say that. And then Ratched on Netflix was a purge. So it was 4 purges.
4 purges. Ugh,
So,
not a good week.
If you're like, hey, what should I watch? It's like, we don't know.
We don't know.
Nothing.
Not this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Go
Right?
play with your estranged children or something.
Yeah, go on social media and waste your time with that, right?
I guess. Yeah.
All right, where can they find us, Joe? Let's get out of here. I'm over this.
Yeah, me too. And it's getting hot.
Yep.
So iHeart, iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast. And you can email us at bingeorpurgepodcast@gmail.com. We do check that. Instagram at bingeorpurgepodcast, Twitter at bingeorpurge, Facebook /bingeorpurge. We're not hard to find. So please come track us down.
Yes, and
We'd like to
we're
hear.
always looking for recommendations. Always. Because we need stuff to talk about on this show, and there's just too much. And I will say this, I am getting a lot of recommendations for you off the air, and I appreciate it. You know who you are when you send me texts and messages and everything, and I appreciate them big time. If I don't get to them, I will. I'm making a list. It's on my phone. Every time you send me one, I add it to the list, and I'm trying to get to everything. We're trying to cover as much as we can. Unfortunately, this week it was 4 purges. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Now, real quick, are you looking forward to anything?
No.
Really?
I don't know. Something. Someone told me to watch Raised by Wolves. I'm going to check that out.
That's an HBO thing.
That's an HBO Max thing.
Okay,
Yes.
and then there's a Jude Law thing called like 3 Days Later or something like that.
There's a million things. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming, the stuff that we could be watching right now, you know?
There's a couple of cool HBO things. That's what I was getting at.
Yes.
I think. But again, we talked about this off the air, that they make amazing trailers, sometimes for terrible shows. So,
They do.
So
They do.
I guess we'll
I've
find
been
out.
disappointed lately in some stuff, but we're not going to bring that up right now. Anyway, I've got to get out of here. If you're still listening, thank you. And as always, we want to thank Jess the Facts. You can follow Jess the Facts on Instagram at the Jesse Greer. That's Jesse with a Y. So for Joe Taylor, my name is Dimo. This has been Binge or Purge Streaming Reviews. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you next time.